I'm standing in my kitchen, deliberately licking the rim of my pickle jar, making sure pickle juice drips down my chin. My roommate is watching from the doorway, his face twisted in horror. And I'm doing it on purpose, because after months of him stealing my food, I finally figured out the perfect revenge. One so disgusting, so brilliantly petty, that he'd never touch my groceries again. And it worked even better than I imagined. If you've ever lived with a roommate who treats your fridge like their personal buffet, this story is going to feel like sweet, sweet justice. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you love watching food thieves get exactly what they deserve, and settle in. Because this tale of psychological warfare and strategic grossness is about to make your day. Let me take you back to about a year ago. I had just moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with someone I'd met through a roommate finding app. Let's call him Derek. On paper, Derek seemed perfect. Clean credit check. Steady job. Said all the right things about respecting boundaries and splitting bills fairly. We signed the lease, shook hands, and I thought I'd lucked out with a drama-free living situation. The first month was fine. We were polite strangers occupying the same space, doing that awkward roommate dance where you're both overly considerate because you haven't established the real dynamics yet. I'd buy my groceries every Sunday. Nothing fancy, just the essentials. Orange juice, which I'm particular about because I only drink the kind with extra pulp. Peanut butter, the natural kind that separates and needs stirring. Cream cheese for my morning bagels. A jar of good pickles, the kind that costs $8 because they're perfectly crunchy and tangy. I'm not a food snob, but I work hard for my money, and I like what I like. The first time I noticed something was off, it was subtle. I'd bought a fresh carton of orange juice on Sunday, had a glass Monday morning, and by Tuesday evening when I reached for it, the carton felt suspiciously light. I picked it up, shook it gently, and realized more than half was gone. That nagging feeling crept into my stomach. You know the one, that uncomfortable realization that something isn't right, but you don't want to be. That person who jumps to conclusions or starts conflict over something that might have an innocent explanation. Maybe I drank more than I remembered. Maybe I'd miscalculated, but then it kept happening. Wednesday, I specifically noted that I had about 6 pickles left in the jar. I'd counted them because I was planning to buy more on the weekend. Thursday evening, I opened the jar to find only 2 pickles remaining. 2. And I hadn't eaten any. The peanut butter jar that should have lasted me 2 weeks was scraped nearly clean after 5 days. The cream cheese I'd just opened disappeared within 48 hours, and I'd only used it once. My groceries were vanishing, and there was only one other person in the apartment. I'm not a confrontational person by nature. I believe in communication, in treating people with respect, in assuming good intentions. So I approached Derek calmly one evening after work. "Hey, can we talk for a second?" I kept my tone light, non-accusatory. He looked up from his laptop. "Sure, what's up? I've noticed some of my food has been disappearing faster than I'm eating it. Have you been, helping yourself to my stuff in the fridge?" There was this moment, this fraction of a second, where his expression shifted. Not quite guilt, but something close to it. A flicker of recognition before his face smoothed into casual denial. "Oh man, sorry, I might have had some OJ the other morning when I ran out. Didn't think it was a big deal. The thing is, it's been happening with multiple items. The pickles, the peanut butter, the cream cheese." He shrugged. "We're roommates. I figured we could share some stuff. I'll get the next round of groceries." But he didn't. The next weekend came and went. No groceries appeared. And my food kept disappearing. I tried again. This time I was more direct. "Derek, I need you to stop eating my food. I budget specifically for my groceries, and I can't afford to be feeding 2 people. If you need groceries, I'm happy to go shopping with you or give you recommendations, but you can't keep taking my stuff." "Dude, relax. It's just food. Don't be so uptight about it." That response. That dismissive, gaslighting response that made me feel like I was the problem for having reasonable boundaries. I felt my chest tighten, my jaw clenched, but I kept my voice steady. "I'm not being uptight. I'm asking you to respect my belongings. That's a basic roommate expectation." "Fine, whatever." But nothing changed. Over the next few weeks, it actually got worse. It was like my conversation with Derek had given him permission to be even more brazen about it. I'd come home from work to find him eating a sandwich clearly made with my cream cheese and my deli meat. He'd be drinking straight from my orange juice carton while watching TV. The orange juice thing especially infuriated me. Not just because he was drinking it, but because he was drinking directly from the container, with his mouth on it, and then putting it back in the fridge for me to use. That's not just theft. That's disrespectful on a whole other level. I tried different strategies. I labeled my food with my name. He ignored the labels. I bought a mini fridge for my bedroom and kept some stuff in there, but I couldn't fit everything, and why should I have to hide my groceries in my own home like some kind of food refugee? I sent him text messages. Hey, noticed you ate my yogurt. Please replace it. Read receipts showed he'd seen the messages. No response. No replacement yogurt. Each incident was small. No single occurrence was worth moving out over or escalating to the landlord. But together, they formed this pattern of disrespect that made me dread going to my own kitchen. That made me feel violated in my own home. And the financial aspect was no joke. I was spending an extra $60 to $80 a month replacing food I'd already bought once. That's real money. That's a phone bill. That's groceries for an entire week if you shop smart. But more than the money, it was the principle. It was lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling this simmering resentment that someone could so casually disregard my boundaries after I'd explicitly, repeatedly communicated them. I'd tried being nice. I'd tried being firm. I'd tried being understanding. Nothing worked. That's when I decided that conventional methods weren't going to solve this problem. Derek didn't respond to reason or respect. But maybe, just maybe, he'd respond to disgust. The idea came to me on a Thursday night while I was brushing my teeth, and it made me smile into the mirror. A genuinely devious, slightly evil smile. If Derek was going to eat my food without permission, I was going to make sure he knew exactly how unsanitary that food had become. I wasn't going to contaminate it with anything harmful. I'm petty, not criminal. But I was going to make him witness food handling so disgusting that his stomach would turn every time he looked at my groceries. The plan required Derek to be home, which meant I needed to execute this over the weekend when he wasn't at work. I also needed to sell the performance, which meant committing fully to the bit. Friday evening, I started laying the groundwork. I came home from work and immediately collapsed on the couch with exaggerated exhaustion. "Och, I feel terrible," I announced to the living room, where Derek was playing video games. "What's wrong?" He barely looked away from his screen. "I don't know. My stomach's been off all day, might be coming down with something." I made a point of looking pale and tired for the rest of the evening. Early bedtime. Minimal conversation. Setting the stage. TXQDON. Amui Kenji H3 Saturday morning, the real performance began. I emerged from my bedroom around 10 a.m., deliberately disheveled. Hair messy, old shirt. The image of someone who felt too lousy to care about appearances. Derek was in the living room, exactly where I needed him to be, with a clear sightline to the kitchen. I shuffled to the kitchen and opened the fridge. Pulled out my orange juice. The same carton that was already half empty thanks to Derek's thieving. I stood there in full view, opened the carton, and took a long drink directly from it. Made sure to wipe my mouth with the back of my hand afterward, really emphasizing the whole sick person drinking from a communal container. Visual. I could feel Derek's eyes on me. Perfect. I put the orange juice back in the fridge and grabbed the pickle jar. Unscrewed the lid. And here's where I really committed to the bit. I pulled out a pickle with my bare, unwashed hands, took a bite, and as I put it back in the jar, some pickled juice inevitably ran down the side. So I licked it. Deliberately. Slowly. Licked the rim of the jar where the juice had dripped, making sure Derek could see my tongue on the glass. Then I screwed the lid back on and returned it to the fridge. From the corner of my eye, I saw Derek's face contort slightly. But he didn't say anything. Good. Let it simmer. An hour later, I made myself a bagel. In plain view, I opened the cream cheese container and stuck my bare finger directly into it, scooping out a generous amount and smearing it onto my bagel. No knife, no spreader. Just my finger digging into that cream cheese, contaminating the entire container with my sick person germs. I heard Derek clear his throat from the living room, but still, he said nothing. Sunday morning, I upped the ante. I made myself peanut butter toast and I used my finger to scoop peanut butter directly from the jar. Not even pretending to wash my hands first. Just finger into jar, peanut butter onto toast, licking the excess off my finger, then finger back into jar for another scoop. It was gloriously, intentionally disgusting. By Sunday afternoon, I could see Derek was struggling. He kept glancing toward the kitchen with this expression of mingled revulsion and concern. He'd open the fridge, stare at my clearly labeled items, and close it again without taking anything. Finally, around 3 p.m., he broke. "Hey, can I ask you something?" I looked up from my phone, the picture of innocent curiosity. "Sure, what's up?" This shifted uncomfortably. "Do you always handle food like that?" I tilted my head, playing dumb. "Like what?" "Like drinking from the carton and using your fingers and, not using utensils." I shrugged, casual as anything. "I mean, yeah, I think it's dumb to dirty a bunch of utensils when I'm the only one eating my food. Why make extra dishes for myself?" The emphasis on my food was subtle but deliberate. Derek's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Disgust, realization, embarrassment. He knew. He absolutely knew that I knew he'd been eating my food, and that this entire weekend had been a performance designed specifically to make him too grossed out to continue. That makes sense, I guess," he said slowly. "If you're the only one eating it." "Exactly. Since they're my groceries that I buy for myself, I figure I can handle them however I want. No one else is going to eat them, so who cares about hygiene, right?" The silence that followed was beautiful. Then Derek did something that made every second of my gross out performance worth it. He cleared his throat and said, "I've been thinking. Maybe we should have better organization in the fridge, like, what if we each had our own designated shelves and drawers? That way there's no confusion about whose food is whose." I had to bite my cheek to keep from smiling. "No confusion. Has there been confusion?" He had the decency to look embarrassed. "I mean, just to keep things clear, prevent any accidental, cross-contamination or whatever." "That sounds like a great idea," I said, letting him save face. Really responsible thinking. Within an hour, Derek had reorganized the entire fridge. Top 2 shelves his, bottom 2 shelves mine, separate drawers for produce. He even suggested we get different colored containers to keep things clearly separated. And just like that, my food stopped disappearing. Not a single item went missing after that weekend. Not the orange juice. Not the pickles. Not the peanut butter or cream cheese or anything else. Derek started buying his own groceries religiously, and he treated the fridge organization system like it was a legally binding contract. I'd see him open the fridge, reach toward my shelf out of habit, then physically recoil and grab something from his own section instead. Every single time, I'd remember him watching me lick that pickle jar, and I'd have to hide my smile. The best part, I never had to escalate to actually being gross. Once Derek believed I was that unsanitary with my food, the mental barrier was enough. Sometimes the most effective revenge isn't about actual consequences. It's about making someone's imagination do the work for you. Did I feel bad about the deception? Not even a little bit. I'd tried communication. I'd tried clear boundaries. When respect and reason failed, strategic disgust succeeded. So here's my question for you: was I justified, or did I take it too far? Drop your verdict in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think, and if you've ever dealt with a food-stealing roommate, tell me your story. How did you handle it? If this tale of psychological warfare and strategic finger-licking made your day, smash that like button harder than I stuck my finger in that peanut butter jar. Subscribe for more revenge stories where the victims become the victors, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of petty justice. Remember, respect people's boundaries, or you might just end up too grossed out to enjoy your stolen snacks. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your hands off other people's groceries, and maybe invest in some utensils.